The movie begins with Lee Jung waking up, saying, "Yeah, my story is a bit strange, but I'm an athlete. The first thing I love doing as soon as I wake up is dropping down and doing 10 push-ups. Not because I have to, but because I'm strong and disciplined. I head to my training, but I don't train with my teammates because I'm way ahead of even the trainers. Yeah, that's how good I am. I don't play with just my hands, my whole body is a weapon. I'm skilled and know how to handle myself. After training, I hang out with my teammates. Oh, I forgot to mention that our team is unbeatable, no one can beat us. But by the end of the game, as usual, all my teammates die, and I'm the only one left standing and winning." Afterward, his father calls him and says, "Son, come home, I'm waiting for you." Lee Jung goes to his father, who owns a restaurant, takes the required orders, and delivers them to people's houses. Yes, delivery work, my friend. Once he's done, he goes back to his teammates. They finish their game, and on his way home, he notices a police officer chasing a thief. The officer corners the thief, but this thief is tough. He smashes a bottle on the officer's head, knocking him to the ground, and is about to kill him. Do you think this will happen? No way. Lee Jung steps in and says, "Leave the guy alone." He approaches, delivering a spinning kick to the thief, knocking him down. Then, with a single strike to the legs, the thief falls to the ground. Lee Jung notices an electronic ankle bracelet on the thief's leg. He checks on the officer and rushes him to the hospital. Later, the head of the department honors him with a bravery certificate. The department chief approaches him, saying, "Good job, hero. I'm the department head. Can we have a chat in my office over some tea?" Lee Jung agrees and sits with him. The chief explains, "Look, there are around 5,000 criminals who've finished their sentences, but most of them return to crime. To prevent this, we put an electronic bracelet on their ankles to track their movements. This thief, the one who attacked the officer you saved, had such a bracelet. By the way, that officer was part of my team, an expert in martial arts." He continues, "Our department focuses on monitoring these ex-convicts to ensure they don't revert to crime, ensuring people's safety." Lee Jung responds, "I understand. What do you need from me?" The chief asks, "What do you do for a living?" Lee Jung replies, "My dad owns a restaurant, and I work as a delivery guy." The chief laughs and says, "How much do you make?" Lee Jung jokes, "1 million or 2. The chief is shocked, but Lee Jung adds, "I'm kidding." The chief then says, "I have a request. Will you help us during this period? Our team is short on officers after the incident with Officer Cho. You'll get a decent salary, and most importantly, you'll be contributing to people's safety." Lee Jung asks for time to think and consult his family and friends. When he tells his friends, one of them says, "Go for it, man. It's great to have someone to back you up in this city." Another says, "Why are you even hesitating?" His third friend adds, "Do it. As long as we can still eat and hang out together by the end of the day, it's fine." He discusses it with his father, who says, "Son, this is a huge honor for our family. Go for it, and may God be with you." The next morning, Lee Jung goes to meet the chief, who introduces him to the team, saying, "Guys, this is Officer Lee Jung. He'll be with us until Officer Cho recovers." Everyone welcomes him warmly. Lee Jung is then introduced to an officer who will teach him how to use the surveillance program they use to monitor criminals. The officer starts explaining, "This is the surveillance program. These green dots represent the criminals we're monitoring. If you click on any dot, you'll get detailed information about the person and their exact location. For instance, let's click on this dot. You can see all the information about the criminal and their current position. Now, if a criminal's ankle bracelet battery drops below 30%, the green dot will turn yellow. In such cases, you politely call them and say, 'Excuse me, sir, please charge your bracelet.' But what if the criminal is rude and refuses to charge it? What do you do then?" The officer asks. Lee Jung replies, "I'll go to them before the bracelet dies and take care of the situation." The officer nods and says, "Exactly. Your job is to stay here, monitor the system, and keep an eye on these dots." Lee Jung sits at the workstation, monitoring for hours, but nothing unusual happens. After 7 to 8 hours, he notices one dot turning yellow. He clicks on it and sees the criminal's details: Young Ho Lee, 20 years old. Initially, he decides to inform the officer, but then changes his mind and handles it himself. He calls the criminal and says, "Hello, is this Mr. Young?" Young replies, "Yes, who's this?" Lee Jung explains, "Sir, your electronic bracelet's battery has dropped below 30%. Please charge it." Young rudely hangs up. Surprised, Lee Jung calls again, saying, "Sorry, sir, the call got disconnected." "As I was saying." Young interrupts, shouting, "I heard you, idiot. Don't call me again," and hangs up. Angered, Lee Jung calls once more but finds the phone turned off. He informs Sun, "You're coming with me." Sun asks, "Where to?" Lee Jung responds, "There's a criminal named Young Ho Lee. His bracelet is about to die. I called him twice, and he hung up both times. The third time, he turned off his phone." Sun asks the officer nearby, "How long has this guy been out of prison?" The officer replies, 3 months, sir. But we spoke to him last week, and he was very polite." Lee Jung says, "Well, he's not polite anymore. Give me the necessary equipment, and let's move." They head to the storage room, where Sun hands Lee Jung some gear. "This is heavy-duty equipment," Sun explains. "Don't forget to activate the camera on this vest and take this taser. Only use it in emergencies." Lee Jung nods, saying, "Got it." The two follow the GPS to Young's location. Lee Jung remarks, "I know this area well, I've delivered orders here many times." That's his apartment, right? "This building has windows only on this side. I'll wait here because as soon as he sees me, he'll try to escape." Sun adds, "What if he attacks and escapes through the door?" Lee Jung replies confidently, "I'll be here. Trust me." As expected, Young spots them and jumps out the window. Lee Jung intercepts him and says, "How's it going, pal?" Young grabs a knife and charges, but Lee Jung counters with a low kick, knocking him off balance. He then uses the taser, subduing Young and bringing him to the ground. Pleased, they handcuff Young and take him into custody. Later, Lee Jung returns to monitoring the system, waiting for another criminal to make a move. As soon as something suspicious happens, Lee Jung takes action, chasing the criminal. Most flee when they see him, but he catches up and takes them down. During one incident, Lee Jung gets provoked and is about to hit a criminal, but Sun stops him, saying, "Don't let anyone provoke you so easily." They send the criminal to the detention center. Sun later apologizes to Lee Jung, saying, "I'm sorry, boss. That was bound to happen. But don't let anyone get to you like that again. You've achieved a lot in a short time. How about I treat you to dinner tonight?" Lee Jung replies, "Sorry, I can't. I already have plans with my friends." Sun laughs, "Fine, let's make it tomorrow. Or better yet, I'll bring your friends along, and we can all eat on my dime." Lee Jung agrees, and that evening, they all meet up. He introduces his friends to the team, one by one. They joke around until the food is served. Young says to Lee Jung, "Before you eat, sir, we have to make the sandwich for the friends, which consists of Chiang, Kuan Chiang, and Simon Chun. Now, what you need to do is eat it in one bite. Go ahead, hero, live on." They all enjoy the moment. Meanwhile, some officers working the night shift are on duty. One of them spots a criminal whose ankle bracelet is about to die. He calls the criminal but finds the phone switched off. The officer contacts Sun, who responds, "There's trouble, sir. A guy named Ibn Hama, his ankle bracelet is about to die, and he won't answer his phone. He's currently in the Harrafish area." Sun asks, "When was he released from prison?" The officer answers, 3 months ago. He killed someone by mistake and got sentenced to 20 years. Sun asks, "Does he have any enemies in the Harrafish area?" The officer responds, "I'm not sure." Jung then chimes in, "That area is really close to us, about 5 minutes by foot. We'll be there in no time." Sun replies, 5 minutes. It's just 1 minute away. We'll be there." They get in the car and rush to the area, quickly searching for the criminal. They find his ankle bracelet discarded. Sun comments, "He hasn't fled yet, he's still in the area." Jung says, "No way, He can't have escaped that fast. Let's use your drone to search for him. The drone searches the area, and Jung eventually spots the criminal. He tells Sun, I'll go to him. Jung approaches the criminal, who stands in front of a door. The criminal says, I won't let you catch me, I'll kill you, Ibn Hammer. Jung reaches him and says, who are you? The criminal responds, I'm a martial arts officer. The criminal dismisses him, martial arts or whatever, just leave me alone. Jung says, I didn't come here to leave. Please come with me without causing any trouble. The criminal rudely replies, get away from me, or I'll cause trouble for you. Jung tries to subdue him with a swift move, taking him to the ground. As Jung is about to strike, the criminal says, listen to me, Jung. I'll tell you something that you need to hear. Jung listens carefully, and the criminal says, every day, Ibn Hammer mocks me because of the tracking bracelet. It's been driving me crazy, and I can't sleep at night. I'm fed up and will kill him. Jung responds calmly, you made a mistake, and you've been punished for it. Now, the person you want to hurt will face the consequences of his actions, and will forget about the bracelet issue. The criminal finally surrenders. Jung admires his reasoning and wisdom. Sun finishes and heads home. His father asks, how's work going? Jung replies, honestly, Dad, my boss is very strict. His father responds, well, thank God. Go wash your hands and come have some apples. Jung nods and goes to wash his hands. Meanwhile, a news report airs. We all know the infamous criminal who raped more than 15 women and was on the run from the police for 4 years. In 1998, after 4 years of evading capture, he was caught and imprisoned for his crimes. Now, after serving his time, he's being released. Will he return to his old ways? Only time will tell. Sun sits with other officers, and Nogi says, what will we do after Kang gets out of prison? Jung replies, we'll assign 3 martial arts officers to keep an eye on him. Sun responds, I don't have extra officers, and if we assign 3 just to monitor him, it will affect our ability to monitor other criminals. Nogi says, I know you're doing a great job, but Kang's crimes are serious. We need to keep our eyes on him. Meanwhile, Jung is monitoring another criminal, who walks into a barber shop. The criminal greets the barber and asks, should I dye my hair yellow or red? The barber replies, just get a decent haircut. Jung follows the criminal and notices him at a restaurant, where the criminal is acting suspiciously with a woman. Jung runs to his workplace and opens the criminal's file, but he struggles to read the details. This isn't his name, it's a description. Anyway, because of his prison sentence for sexual assault, Jung talks to Sun about everything he saw. Sun says, let's call him. He calls, but the criminal picks up and says, don't call here again. Today, I'm going to do whatever I want. He hangs up on him. Sun tells Jung, let's go. They leave in the car, and a message pops up on the device saying the ankle bracelet has been cut off. Sun responds, he went into a place with no network. Jung heads to the girl he was being rude to earlier and asks, do you know this person? She answers, yes, of course. He asks, how did he leave? She says, he left here, but before he left, he told me to come to his birthday party. I didn't want to go with him. Jung says, listen, I'm going this way, and you go that way. He's likely going to go after a girl working alone. She agrees. They both split up to check on any woman working alone in the area. Jung recalls that Ibn Hammer had a haircut at the barbershop, so he rushes there. Sure enough, the criminal is at the barbershop. He enters and locks the door. The barber says, I'm done, you can come back tomorrow. The criminal doesn't answer, and he approaches her. She stumbles and falls. Ibn Hammer attacks her, but Jung arrives just in time to intervene. He asks if she's okay, and she says she's fine. Jung then knocks out Ibn Hammer, and he grabs the woman in a protective hold. She thanks him, saying, you arrived just in time. Jung returns home, and his father asks, what's going on at work? Jung replies, I'm done with it, I'm not going back. His father asks, why? Jung says, I'm going to help you at the restaurant. His father tells him, no, look out for what's best for you. I'll find someone else to help me at work. The next day, Jung goes to Sun and says, I'm not leaving. I want to keep working with you. Sun laughs and says, are you serious? Jung replies, yes, I'm serious. Sun says, fine, I'll transfer you to a new place. Will you come with me, or stay in the old station? Jung says, I'm here because of you. Sun is pleased and takes him with him. Meanwhile, the media is reporting about Kang, the criminal who was imprisoned for assaulting 15 women. Sun and Jung put on their police uniforms and head to Kang's house before he is released. Sun says, you'll still have that ankle bracelet on. After 2 years, if we feel you've changed your ways, we'll remove it. Keep an eye on the charge level. If it drops below 30%, we'll contact you to remind you to recharge it. Kang doesn't respond. Jung's eyes remain on him, feeling certain he won't get away with it. They arrive at Kang's house, where people are protesting and demanding the death penalty. The police secure the area and bring Kang inside. That night, a friend of Kang's visits him and asks, are you ready for work, or are you afraid of the police? Kang replies, I'm ready, but I don't know what will happen. Meanwhile, Jung is tracking Kang's movements. Sun tells him, I'll follow him. Jung watches from a distance, tracking Kang's car as he enters a building's garage. They discuss the situation. Kang's associates are worried about being tracked due to the ankle bracelet. Jung continues watching, but finds no trace of Kang. Sun says, I'll call him now. He calls Kang, and Kang answers, saying, I hope you're doing well. I tried calling you earlier, but you weren't picking up. Jung calls a person but gets no answer since he's in a garage with no signal. He then calls back after reaching the restaurant where the person is dining. Jung reminds him to keep an eye on the ankle bracelet and avoid places without signal. The person agrees and hangs up. Jung tells Sun that the person is difficult to track. Sun replies that they can't keep calling him and making him feel watched. Meanwhile, an officer congratulates Sun, who is done with his work and will return to his duties the next day. Jung gifts Sun a Kong doll, and Sun is delighted. Later that evening, a girl is kidnapped while visiting her dog. Yin visits Ibn Hama, Kang's associate, and they discuss the situation. Ibn Hama warns him to be careful tomorrow. The following day, Cho notices that Yang's ankle bracelet is under 30% and tries to call him, but his phone is off. Sun tells Jung to investigate why Kang isn't charging the bracelet. Jung arrives at the location and hears a girl's voice crying for help. He tries knocking on the door, but Kang doesn't open it. Meanwhile, Cho and Sun also hear the cries. They discover that Kang is using a speaker to lure them in. Jung fights Kang's men as Sun and Cho try to save the girl but are overwhelmed. Jung continues to fight hard, but Sun is injured and Jung struggles. Jung contacts Sun, but due to his injuries, Sun doesn't respond. At the same time, Kang films the scene. Jung manages to break through the window just in time to save the girl, but Kang's associate stabs him. Jung fights back and eventually overpowers them. The police arrive, but Kang escapes while Jung is rushed to the hospital. At the hospital, Jung is treated for his stab wound, and Sun is critically injured. A nurse apologizes for Jung's wet shoes, causing him to cry. After waking up, Jung visits Sun, who tells him they won't be able to catch Ibn Hama, who's been evading capture for years. Jung promises to handle it. Jung prepares with his team to track down Kang and Ibn Hama. They find Kang and battle his men. Jung faces off against Kang, and despite being evenly matched, Jung eventually brings Kang down. The police arrive, and Kang is arrested. Jung is honored by the president of South Korea, and his father and son express their pride. The girl Jung saved thanks him, saying she will always be okay as long as people like him are around. Jung returns to work, but his ankle bracelet's battery dies. Sun tells him it's time to go, and the movie ends. Don't forget to subscribe. See you with another story.